Repeating history, Kevin Rudd picks up right where he left off. Tears and tributes as Julia Gillard ends a rollercoaster ride in Parliament. Also tonight, the Sydney-siders living with the fear of floods. Looking good, Australia embracing the spirit of organ donation. And injury woes add to a glum day for the Blues.
This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. It was a brand new day in Canberra, but strangely familiar, with Kevin Rudd surrounded by his family at Government House as he was sworn in for the second time as Prime Minister. Meanwhile, in the Parliament she once commanded, it was a time of reflection and unexpected tears for Julia Gillard.
The second coming of Kevin Rudd, delivered to the private entrance of Government House this morning to be sworn in again to the job he was toppled from 3 years ago.
I invite you to take and subscribe the oath of office as Prime Minister.
Mr Rudd took the oath.
I, Kevin Michael Rudd.
Watched by wife Therese, son Marcus, daughter Jessica and son-in-law Albert, with one-year-old granddaughter Josephine delivering a running commentary. The old/new Prime Minister's familiarity with the process was shown as he signed the papers.
I've done this wrongly before.
Julia Gillard, dumped as PM at a Labor caucus meeting last night, watched the swearing in on TV in the Parliament House cafe as she drank coffee with the man who'd been her deputy and treasurer, Wayne Swan. A new Deputy Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, was also sworn in.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Along with a new Treasurer, Chris Bowen, before official photographs were taken on the front steps of Government House. Labor's Back to the Future leadership decision.
Kevin Rudd, 57 votes. Julia Gillard, 45 votes.
Resulted from party panic over disastrous opinion polls so close to an election.
The pressure finally got too great for many of my colleagues. I respect that.
Ms Gillard took a late-night drive to Government House to hand in her commission as PM and advise Governor-General Quentin Bryce to appoint Mr Rudd. Labor's deep divisions were exposed immediately. 5 other ministers, Senate leader Stephen Conroy, Climate Change Minister Greg Combet, Agriculture Minister Joe Ludwig, Trade Minister Craig Emerson and School Education Minister Peter Garrett followed Ms Gillard and Mr Swan out the door. Mr Emerson and Mr Garrett are quitting Parliament as well.
A third of the Cabinet doesn't trust the Prime Minister.
Defence Minister Stephen Smith has announced he'll stay in Cabinet until the election but won't recontest his seat either. When Parliament met at noon for what's expected to be the final day's sitting before the election, Mr Rudd clearly savoured what is surely the most remarkable comeback in Australian political history, even kissing Deputy Opposition Leader Julie Bishop and giving Tony Abbott a pat on the back.
The Prime Minister has the call.
And he praised the woman who knifed him and has now been knifed by him.
The former Prime Minister has achieved major reforms for our nation that will shape our country's future.
In that case, said the opposition leader,
why was she dragged down last night?
Political life is a very hard life. A very hard life indeed.
Like Pontius Pilate, the Prime Minister is washing the blood off his hands.
Employment Minister Bill Shorten, a key figure in making Ms Gillard Prime Minister, switched sides to become a key figure in unmaking her.
I don't believe it's in the nation's interests for a landslide outcome, and that's what it was looking like.
Finance Minister Penny Wong, previously a Gillard loyalist, also switched and emerged as Labor's new Senate leader.
It was the most difficult decision of my political life.
The ousted leadership team watched from the bleachers as Mr Rudd and Mr Abbott locked horns in question time on the crucial issue of asylum seekers.
Will the Prime Minister finally accept responsibility for the decisions that have led to illegal boat arrivals now running at over 3,000 every month?
It should be a debate about policies which work as opposed to slogans which sound good. I'll be taking briefings from the national security community about what further can be done in this area.
So far, Mr Rudd has given no information at all on policy changes he proposes, and he won't say when the election will be, except to hint strongly that it won't be September 14th, the date Ms Gillard had announced. Ms Gillard, who remained steely last night as her political career was brought so shockingly to an end, finally became tearful this afternoon during a farewell speech by independent Rob Oakeshott.
About 10 minutes before a party room ballot, I sent the Prime Minister a text. And it was to say her father would be proud of her.
Laurie Oakes, 9 News.
As Kevin Rudd pointed out, from education to disability insurance, Julia Gillard steered major reform through Parliament during her 3 years in office. But those achievements were often lost in the tidal wave of taunts that came with being our first female Prime Minister.
Julia Gillard rose to the top job, undoubtedly smashing a ceiling. In the end, fragments of hope are left behind.
What I am absolutely confident of is it will be easier for the next woman and the woman after that and the woman after that, and I'm proud of that.
Being the first female PM came with unique challenges. Her most significant reforms often overshadowed by her glasses, her voice, the cut of her suits.
You've got a big ass, Julia, just get on.
Some of the things that have been said in the last 3 years have been disgusting.
John Howard copped lots for tracksuits and hairy eyebrows.
It was Miss Gillard herself who turned the gender issue into a war.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not.
But it turned dirty with a distasteful menu and talk of blue ties and abortion. By the time Knitgate arrived, Gillard's tenure was unravelling.
I think the stitches were already set in that sense, but I do think that it didn't help her at all.
The reaction to being the first female Prime Minister does not explain everything about my Prime Ministership, nor does it explain nothing about my Prime Ministership.
The true test of Julia Gillard's legacy will come from classrooms like this. Has she inspired future female leaders or scared them off?
It is sort of off-putting, the amount she's had to battle.
Definitely, she's inspired me to push the boundaries.
A path has been paved for anyone who chooses to follow it.
There should be women that come after her, and there will be.
Sylvia Jeffries, 9 News.
As Kevin Rudd turns his focus to the upcoming election, he'll be no doubt eyeing off key battleground seats in Sydney's west. Kevin Wild is in Rooty Hill tonight. Kevin, do you think the Prime Minister will be visiting there soon?
Without a doubt, Pete. He may be a proud Queenslander, but Kevin Rudd knows he has to invest plenty of time here in our west if he wants to protect a swag of seats.
Labor is in deep trouble in Parramatta, which they hold by just over 4%. It includes Marylands and Wentworthville. Lindsay at 1.1% based on Penrith and Orchard Hills, and Werriwa 6.75% is the margin. That's around Minto and Ingleburn. But the Prime Minister's personal appeal should help Labor hold 2 seats in our southwest. Watson with a 9.2% margin, including parts of Campsie and Lakemba, and McMahon at almost 8%, which covers Fairfield through to Adenza Park.
Well, we know Kevin Rudd is well liked, but plenty of voters have already switched off his party.
Last night, oh my God, I fell asleep watching it.
I think he likes himself. Bit of an egotist, I think, is the right word, yeah.
I've even got a T-shirt with Kevin 07 written on it. I voted for him. I didn't vote for her. No one did. No one did.
Doesn't matter either, and they're both as bad as each other.
Good. I'm glad they kicked her out.
And we know that Ed Husick, who's the local member out here, is a potential Rudd minister. Now, he's Australia's first Muslim MP, a very keen Wanderers fan, and like me, he supports the Parramatta Eels. Pete?
Good on you, Kevin. Thank you.